Hi, thanks for joining me for another writing booster. In this writing booster I'm going to be talking about using similes as sentence openers. So firstly, let's talk about what a simile is. So a simile is a language construction that allows you to compare one thing to another thing, and similes are really important because they allow the reader to understand what the writer is talking about, especially if it's something that they're not familiar with. Alright? When you use a simile as a sentence opener, you are giving extra information about the main verb in that sentence, just like you were with an ing sentence starter as well. There are a few different ways we can construct a simile for a sentence starter. First one is using the word like. So many sentence starters will start with like a. For example, like a crying baby. Now this is a useful way of opening a sentence because we can all imagine what a baby sounds like when they're crying, therefore we can relate to what the author is talking about. You can also turn this around and you can start it with the word crying instead. Crying like a baby. And then go on to make the rest of your sentence. The second way that we have to make a simile is using the word as, and we use the word as twice if we're doing a simile. So for example, as quiet as a mouse. A great way of showing somebody what you're talking about. We can all imagine how quietly a mouse would sit and eat something or would sit in a corner. So we can apply that knowledge to what we're reading to help us get a better understanding of what the author is trying to get at. In the middle, we drop an adjective in, okay? And you can be as creative as you like with these adjectives and similes to make your writing really interesting. I'm going to have a look at one example. So we're going to use, we've got like or as. I'm going to leave that up here and I'm going to get rid of the rest of this. When we want to, for example, convey an idea of speed, we might use a simile, something like a lightning bolt. We might have as quick as a flash. We might have as fast as a cheetah. Now most people will have seen lightning flash in the sky and know that it happens very quickly and it's over very quickly, so that's helpful. We've all seen cheetahs running on the TV. We get that idea that this is something that's very quick. This is a great way of us getting the reader to associate what we're talking about with a familiar subject or a familiar object. But it can get a bit boring. So if you always use phrases that you've heard before, you're not adding anything new to your writing. If we look, for example, at this one, as still as a statue. Brilliant. I can imagine something being very still. That's not very exciting. Neither is as fast as a cheetah. Can we think of something else that would be more useful and more exciting to the reader than regurgitating something that has been used time and time and time again? Maybe as still as a tomb. So a tomb is a place where somebody's buried, and places where there are tombs tend to be very quiet and very still. We could use an ing starter here. You could use a verb, unmoving like a frightened mouse. That conjures up an image in my mind of a tiny little mouse sitting very still, very quiet, hoping to not get noticed because it's scared. It works. What about a like opener? Like the water on a frozen lake. Well, we all know when water freezes and becomes ice, it doesn't move anymore if it's in one big block. So if you've got a frozen lake, it's not going to be moving at all. So I'm conjuring up the same kind of idea without using a phrase that I've heard loads and loads of times before. When you're using a sentence starter that's a simile, the most important thing is to make it relevant and to make it interesting as well. Okay, so use a bit of variety. Use a sentence starter that uses as and as. Use a sentence starter with the like. Use one that starts with an ing word and then like the example I gave you of crying like a baby. And make them interesting. Don't stick to phrases you've already heard. Try to think of new ways that you can express the same idea in your own work. But it has to be something that's relevant to the reader. So you can't pick some random thing only you know about. It needs to be something that is recognisable. I hope that's helpful. Please try and use these in your own work. And thanks for watching. Tune in for more writing boosters.